Once upon a time there lived an old man and an old woman in a small house on the edge of the forest. Everything in their life was arguing, only one thing was missing: the old man and the old woman did not have children. Once the old man asked to bake a gingerbread in the shape of a little man. The old woman looked into the barn, and there was almost no flour left. She took a bowl, scrubbed it along the box, swept it along the bottom, and a handful of 2 handfuls of flour gathered. The old woman kneaded the dough with sour cream, and when she was rolling out a gingerbread on the table, she took it and made it in the shape of a little man with arms, legs, with a head, and put it in the oven. After a while, the old woman came up to see if the gingerbread was baked, took it and put it on the window to cool. The gingerbread man cooled down, lay down, but suddenly got up and ran as fast as possible out of the house, from the window to the bench, from the bench to the floor, across the floor and to the doors, jumped over the threshold to the porch, from the porch to the courtyard, from the courtyard to the gate, farther and farther. The old woman called her husband, and they both rushed after him. But it's not so easy to catch the gingerbread man. Now, he has already reached the field where the peasants were threshing their crops. Running past, the gingerbread man shouted at them that he had already run away from the old woman and the old man, and he would easily run away from them too. The peasants heard this and ran after him. But no matter how fast they ran, they could not catch up with him. A gingerbread man ran up to the field where the mowers were mowing the grass. Running past, he shouted to them that he had already run away from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and he would easily run away from them too. The mows could not stand such ridicule. Everyone rushed after the gingerbread man. They run as fast as they can, but they cannot catch up. And towards the little man the cow is walking, he shouted to her that he had already run away from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and he would easily run away from her too. The cow got angry, and also rushed after the gingerbread man. Only he cannot catch up. And to meet him a pig. The little man shouted that he had already fled from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and he would easily run away from her too. A pig screeched and ran after. Only she could not catch up, she was too fat. A gingerbread man runs along the road, and a hare meets him. The little man said that he had already run away from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and from the pig, and he would easily run away from him too. The hare heard this and ran after him. Nor can he catch up with the little man, only the hare saw him. A gingerbread man runs, and a wolf meets him. "I will eat you," says. And the little man answered him that he had already fled from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and from the pig, and from the hare, and he would easily run away from him too. The wolf growled and rushed at the gingerbread man, and he dodged and ran as fast as he could. Only the wolf saw him. A gingerbread man is running, and a huge bear is meeting him. His little man was not afraid, but shouted that he had already fled from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and from the pig, and from the hare, and from the wolf, and he would easily run away from him too. A ferocious bear stamped his foot and ran after him. But the bear was too slow to catch up with the fast gingerbread man. A gingerbread man runs, and a fox meets him. The fox was very cunning, but the little man did not know this. Therefore, out of habit, he began to shout that he had already fled from the old woman, and from the old man, and from the peasants, and from the mowers, and from the cow, and from the pig, and from the hare, and from the wolf, and from the bear, which means he will easily run away from her too. The fox listened to the end, and said that she was very old, did not hear anything. She came closer to the little man and asked him to repeat it. Obeyed her silly gingerbread man and began to brag again. The fox listened to the end and said that she still did not hear anything. She came even closer to the little man and asked him to repeat it again. The gingerbread man agreed, and then only he started anew when the fox pounced on him and ate it. And the gingerbread man no longer bragged about.
Once upon a time, a king lived in a distant country. And he had 11 sons and one daughter, Eliza. The royal children lived well and carefree until their stepmother appeared in their lives. No one knew that the new queen was an evil witch. She hated the king's children, always complained about them, and dreamed of expelling them from the castle. The evil queen slandered poor children so much that soon the king himself began to believe her words. First, he sent his daughter away to be raised in a nearby village. There she was destined to live up to 15 years. The evil queen wanted to send the boys away too, but they were still too young. Therefore, the father left them in the castle. And then one day an evil sorceress made her way into the children's room and put a spell on the sons of the king. She turned them into 11 wild swans and then opened the window. And the boys who became birds flew out of the castle. Years passed, and Eliza turned 15. On this day, she returned to the palace. While waiting for the king's arrival, the girl met her stepmother, who was angry that the princess would now live in the palace. And Eliza, tired from the road, did not notice how she fell asleep. Having chosen the right moment, the queen entered the room and put a spell on the girl. Suddenly, the princess's hair became dirty and unkempt, and her face changed and darkened. At this time, the king returned to the castle. He missed his daughter and dreamed of meeting her. Entering the room, the king saw that the girl on the princess's bed was not at all like his daughter. He got angry and ordered to expel the stranger from the castle. Eliza had to spend the night in the forest. In the morning she washed in the pond, the spell was asleep, and the girl again became a beauty. Immediately she met a kind old woman. She told the princess that every evening she sees 11 swans in golden crowns by the river. Then Eliza went to the water. At sunset, swans flew there, which at that very moment turned into her brothers. They immediately recognized Princess Eliza and hugged her. The brothers told the girl that the evil stepmother had bewitched them. And now every morning they turn into swans, and at night they return to their true appearance. In the morning, the brothers turned into swans again and took Eliza with them, placing the girl in a basket of willow bark. The princess was happy to fly through the sky with her brothers. It seemed to her that it was a beautiful dream, and soon she fell asleep for real. In a dream, the fairy of the castle appeared to her, who told how you can save the brothers. Eliza had to pick some nettles and weave 11 shirts for the brothers, but not say anything, otherwise the brothers would disappear forever. The next morning, the girl began to collect nettles. The grass burned her hands, but Eliza continued to pluck it. Suddenly the girl was noticed by a handsome prince hunting nearby. He was fascinated by the beauty of the princess and went up to her to say hello.
Hello?
But Eliza remembered what the fairy said and therefore did not say a word. The prince was struck by the silence of the forest beauty, so he soon took her as his wife and took her to his castle. While spending days in the palace, the princess continued to secretly weave nettle shirts. But one day the prince's advisor saw Eliza doing this. He spread rumors that the princess was a magician at night and should have been arrested. Over time, the prince also believed that his wife was a witch. Then he ordered his soldiers to imprison the girl in prison. However, even in prison, the young princess continued to weave shirts. Finally the day came when Eliza finished sewing the last shirt. At that moment, the dungeon door opened and the princess was taken to trial. They decided to sentence the poor girl to death. And at that moment, when the judge read out the verdict, 11 swans descended from heaven. Eliza pulled shirts from under her skirt and threw them over the birds. Her brothers immediately became human. But the princess did not have enough nettles for the sleeves for the last shirt, so the younger brother had swan wings instead of arms. Then the brothers told their story. And the prince, who deeply believed in his wife's innocence, asked Eliza for forgiveness. The princess immediately forgave her husband. Finally, the brothers were free and Eliza was happy. Together they returned to the castle. The father recognized his children and for many years could not forgive himself for allowing his stepmother to deceive him. And the evil sorceress herself turned into a crow and flew away, never to return to the castle.